Sterling Maddox stood alone in the vast desert, his eyes fixed on the ridge where 70 Apache warriors sat motionless on their horses, watching him since dawn. Their silence was unnerving, heavier than any war cry. Each warrior held a single white feather, a symbol Sterling didn't recognize. Apaches didn't use white feathers in war or ceremony, as far as he knew. His hand brushed his empty holster, a futile gesture for comfort he hadn't felt since yesterday, when he'd made a choice that now seemed reckless. 18 hours earlier, Sterling had given his only horse to carry a wounded Apache woman, Ayanna, to safety. Stranded 20 miles from the nearest settlement, he'd walked through the night, his legs aching, his water nearly gone. Now, these warriors stared at him, their feathers gleaming in the morning sun, and Sterling felt the weight of something he couldn't comprehend. Apaches always had a reason for their actions, and whatever brought 70 warriors to this ridge, holding symbols he didn't understand, was no accident. His act of kindness had set something in motion, and he feared he'd agreed to terms he didn't know existed. The memory of yesterday haunted him. Riding through a canyon, he'd heard a faint moan and found Ayanna collapsed by a dry creek bed, her leg wound infected, her skin feverish. Helping an Apache in their territory was dangerous, most would have ridden away. But Ayanna's dark eyes, filled with a quiet dignity that reminded him of his late sister, stopped him. Without a word, he'd lifted her onto his horse and walked 6 hours to the edge of Apache land, marked by 3 red stones. There, he'd done the unthinkable, he sent his horse with her, watching his only possession vanish toward her village. Now, the warrior's silence felt more threatening than any attack. The lead warrior, gray streaks in his black hair, raised a hand, and the others shifted their horses into a precise formation, like chess pieces moving to rules Sterling didn't know. The leader descended the ridge, his white feather steady in his grip. A necklace of small bones hung around his neck, and a scalp at his belt, brown, eerily like Sterling's own hair, made his blood run cold. The warrior's eyes held no anger, only expectation, as if Sterling should understand something beyond his grasp. He spoke one Apache word, pointing at Sterling's chest, his voice carrying reverence that baffled him. Sterling raised his hand slowly. "I don't want trouble. I helped your woman because she was hurt. That's all." The warrior tilted his head, as if Sterling's words were interesting but off the mark. He repeated the word, gesturing toward the ridge where Ayanna had gone, then smiled, a knowing smile that chilled Sterling further. From a pouch, the warrior produced Sterling's horse bridle, now adorned with unfamiliar painted symbols. He pointed at the symbols, then at Sterling, speaking again with that same reverence. The message was clear, Sterling's act had triggered something significant. A sound rose from the ridge, high, harmonious singing, not a war song but a melody of celebration and mourning. The warrior nodded, as if Sterling's confusion was expected, and offered him a white feather. Accepting it felt like signing an unseen contract, but refusing seemed worse. Sterling took it, and the warrior signaled the others. They moved parallel to him, as if escorting him somewhere unknown. The singing grew closer, and Sterling turned to see a procession emerging from a hidden canyon, women, children, and an elderly man in a feathered headdress, with Ayanna limping beside him, alive and staring at Sterling with gratitude and pity. The elder approached with ceremonial purpose, his weathered face commanding respect. Ayanna translated, "My grandfather thanks the white man who saved his granddaughter's life." Sterling shook his head. "I just helped someone hurt. Anyone would." Ayanna relayed this, but the elder's response was firm. "Most would not. You gave your horse to save an enemy. This follows our ancient codes." He placed a hand on Sterling's shoulder, his voice heavy with emotion. Ayanna continued, "You honored the sacred law of the horse gift. By giving your horse to save a life, you bound yourself to our tribe. Ignorance doesn't undo the bond." Sterling's mouth went dry. "Bound? How?" The elder spoke a single word, and the warriors raised their feathers in unison, a salute, but something more. Ayanna's voice faltered. "The law demands a choosing. You must prove your heart matches your actions. If you do, you join us as family. If not, she glanced at the warriors. If your gift was a lie, you'll be marked as one who steals honor. The horse will be returned, but your spirit will be poisoned. The village, hidden in a basin between rock formations, buzzed with quiet purpose. Children watched Sterling curiously, women nodded respectfully, men measured him. Ayanna explained, "You're between worlds, not enemy, not family. Sacred until the choosing reveals your truth." Inside a large dwelling, the elder sat before Sterling's bridle, an ornate knife, a clay pot of paint, and a sage bundle. He explained through Ayanna, the choosing had 3 tests. First, Sterling must prove his gift was genuine. Second, he must make a sacrifice. Third, he must prioritize the tribe's welfare over his own survival. What sacrifice? Sterling asked. The elder held the knife, its blade glinting. Ayanna's voice trembled. You'll be bound and placed where only the tribe's mercy can save you. If your gift was pure, they'll save you. If false, they'll let you die. The elder painted a symbol on his forehead, offering the pot to Sterling. With the sun nearing the horizon, Sterling painted the same symbol, sealing his choice to face the ceremony. The village prepared a stone circle, warriors forming a perimeter, their feathers now on their bridles. Ayanna said, "This happens once in a generation. Few are foolish, or brave, enough to give their horse for a stranger." Sterling donned Apache clothing, stripping away his old identity. The first test began at sunset. Bound in the circle, he faced 5 elders, their painted faces unreadable. They questioned him, why was he in Apache land? Why help Ayanna? Did he seek reward? Sterling answered honestly, admitting he wasn't sure if he was good, only that leaving her felt wrong. When asked why he didn't take her to white settlers, he said it would have been cruel to tear her from her people. Another elder probed deeper, was his act kindness or self-punishment for past failures? Sterling's voice broke. Maybe both. The elders conferred, then declared he'd passed the first test. His heart was true. But Ayanna warned, the sacrifice test is worse. A box was brought, containing 5 arrows, each tied to a trial, crossing rapids at night, entering a mountain cat's cave, climbing an unclimbable cliff, seeking peace with a rival tribe, or surviving a rattlesnake bite. Sterling was to choose which volunteer faced a trial for him. Horrified, he protested, "That's not sacrifice, it's cruelty." Ayanna nodded. Exactly. You can choose an arrow, or face all 5 yourself, a choice no one has survived. 5 volunteers stood ready, a young man, a kind-eyed woman, a scarred warrior, a teenage girl like his sister, and a father. Sterling's heart pounded. His sister's words echoed, courage meant doing right despite fear. He met the elder's gaze. I won't choose. I'll face all 5 trials. The crowd gasped. The warriors raised their feathers, and the elder declared, no one has offered this. Your willingness to die rather than harm others proves your heart. The trials are ended. You are our brother. The warriors knelt, placing feathers and gifts, knives, blankets, jewelry, at Sterling's feet. His horse was returned, adorned with honor markings. The lead warrior spoke, you carry the protection of 70 families. These feathers pledge our loyalty. The elder added, you came as a stranger, gave a gift, and received 70 in return. You've shown some white men understand courage. Sterling mounted his horse, the feathers catching starlight. Ayanna asked, where now, brother? He looked north. To the mountains. I hear there's good grazing, and new neighbors to know. The warriors escorted him from the village, their presence a shield, a family, a home. Sterling rode into the night, forever marked by a choice that made him more than he'd ever imagined.